Most gardeners treat cover crops like a checkbox, something you toss down when a bed is empty and, just forget about until spring. That mindset is exactly why their soil never really improves. They grow the wrong species, at the wrong time, for the wrong reason, then wonder why compaction, nutrient swings, and weak root systems keep showing up year after year. Cover crops only work when they're chosen and managed with intent, not nostalgia. Cover crops aren't decoration, they're tools, and the wrong tool will absolutely make your soil worse. Cover crops don't improve soil by existing, they improve soil by interacting with it. A cover crop isn't magic, it's roots, exudates, biomass, and timing. When I see gardeners broadcast seed without understanding what those roots actually do underground, I already know the outcome. Shallow-rooted covers won't fix compaction. Fast nitrogen fixers won't help if you already have excess nitrogen. Tall, aggressive covers will compete with moisture if you let them go too long. In my raised beds and in-ground plots, I choose cover crops based on what the soil is missing, not what looks good on a seed packet. Sometimes that's nitrogen, more often it's structure, aggregation, or microbial diversity. If you already grow food seriously, this shift in thinking changes everything. Before we go further, if you care about improving soil instead of just feeding plants, subscribe to the Husbandry channel. Everything here is about results you can measure season after season, not trends that fade by summer. Legumes are powerful, but they're often used when they're not needed. Legumes get all the attention because nitrogen is easy to talk about. Clover, peas, vetch, and beans all fix nitrogen, but that doesn't automatically mean they're the right choice. I see a lot of beds overloaded with nitrogen because legumes were planted on autopilot. The plants look lush early, then disease pressure rises and fruiting stalls. Crimson clover works well when soil is genuinely depleted or following heavy feeding crops like corn or brassicas. I seed it at about 1 pound per 1,000 square feet, lightly raked in and kept evenly moist for the first week. In raised beds, I go lighter and let it function as a living understory rather than a dense mat. Hairy vetch is excellent for building biomass, but it's aggressive and slow to break down. If you don't terminate it early, it will tie up space and moisture longer than most home gardeners expect. I only use it where I can let it grow until early flowering and then cut it cleanly at the base, leaving roots intact. The real value of legumes isn't just nitrogen, it's the relationship they build with microbes. If your soil biology is weak, legumes help jumpstart that process. If biology is already active, adding more nitrogen often does nothing useful. Grasses are the most underrated cover crops for real soil improvement. If I had to choose one category of cover crop for long-term soil health, it would be grasses. Rye, oats, barley, and wheat build structure better than almost anything else. Their fibrous root systems penetrate compacted layers, create pore space, and feed fungi that stabilize aggregates. Cereal rye is my go-to for fall planting, in beds that saw heavy use. I seed it thickly, about 2 to 3 pounds per 1,000 square feet, and let it grow until it's knee-high in spring. Then I cut it down and leave it as surface mulch. The root mass does more for soil structure than any amendment I could buy. Oats are better for gardeners who want winter kill. They establish fast, protect soil, and die back with frost, leaving residue that's easy to manage in spring. In small backyard gardens, oats reduce spring workload without sacrificing benefits. The common mistake with grasses is letting them mature too long. Once seed heads form, stems get woody and decomposition slows. Termination timing matters if you want benefits without frustration. Brassicas do things nothing else can, but they're easy to misuse. Radish, mustard, and turnips are popular for what's called bio-drilling, and honestly, it's for good reason. Deep tap roots penetrate hard layers and pull nutrients upward. Daikon radish, in particular, can reach depths that hand tools never touch. I use daikon at roughly 1 pound per 1,000 square feet in compacted areas. It grows fast, creates channels, and when it winter kills, those decaying roots become highways for water and worms. In raised beds, I use it sparingly because space is limited and the tops can shade neighboring crops. Mustards release compounds that suppress certain soil pathogens, but this only works when biomass is managed correctly. Chopping and incorporating mustard at the right growth stage matters. Letting it bolt and drop seed turns it into a weed problem, not a solution. Brassicas are corrective tools, not background crops. Use them when you need disruption, then rotate out. Mixes work best when each species has a job. Single-species cover crops are simple, but mixes often deliver better results when designed properly. The key word there is designed. Random blends don't outperform thoughtful combinations. In one of my staple mixes, I combine cereal rye for structure, crimson clover for nitrogen, and daikon radish for penetration. Each species occupies a different root zone and feeds different microbes. The result is more biomass, better aggregation, and smoother transitions back to vegetables. In raised beds, I keep mixes simple to avoid overcrowding. 2 species is usually enough. In larger plots, 3 to 4 can work well if seeding rates are adjusted downward to prevent competition. The mistake people make is seeding full rates of every species. That creates stress instead of synergy. When mixing, I reduce each component to about half or less of its solo rate. Termination is where most benefits are either locked in or wasted. How you end a cover crop matters as much as what you plant. Pulling plants out removes roots, which is where most soil improvement happens. Tilling destroys structure you just paid time to build. My default is cutting at soil level and leaving residues on the surface. Roots decompose in place, feeding microbes and improving aggregation. In beds where I need faster turnover, I cut earlier and use shallow incorporation, never deeper than 2 inches. Timing termination before planting is critical. I want residues starting to break down before seedlings go in. For transplants, I can be more aggressive because roots can push through residue layers. Cover crops and hydroponics don't overlap much, but the mindset still applies. Strong root systems, microbial partnerships, and steady nutrient release beat constant correction. Growing cover crops alongside soil systems informs how I manage organic inputs and biological balance elsewhere. Understanding how roots condition their environment makes you better at managing any growing system, soil or not. If you're serious about soil, cover crops aren't optional. Healthy soil isn't built with bags and bottles, it's built with roots, time, and restraint. Cover crops give you leverage, but only if you stop treating them like an afterthought. Choose species based on problems you actually have, manage growth with intent, terminate with respect for the work those roots already did. When you do that consistently, soil starts improving even when you're not actively gardening. If this helped sharpen how you think about cover crops and soil health, subscribe to the Husbandry channel and share this with someone who's still throwing seed without a plan. Better food starts with better soil, and better soil comes from understanding how living systems actually work.